It's been a year since the FBI began its investigation into Dothan's nutrition program. News 4's Ken Curtis in our newsroom. And Ken, what do we know about the status of that probe?
Well, I spoke to several in law enforcement and government this week, and all told me they don't know what's going on. Despite several federal grand jury sessions in the past year, there have been no indictments. That could mean a couple of things. Investigators are still gathering evidence, or it could signal this case is closed without arrest. The FBI, as a matter of policy, does not confirm investigations or comment on them. But we do know agents subpoenaed bank account and other records. Allegations are federal funds paid for meals that were never served as intended. A restaurant was paid about $3 million over 3 years to provide those meals to mostly low-income children. However, the City of Dothan Leisure Services Department and not the restaurant Breakfast at Tammy's served those meals. And the woman who supervised the program, Kinsley, the one you just spoke of, Stephanie Wingfield, she got fired, and as you mentioned, she is suing. Others in the program were disciplined, and Wingfield's boss retired. While this investigation is a year old, a more complex one into Minnesota's feeding program was wrapped up in just 8 months. Kinsley?
Ken Curtis, thank you. The after-school feeding program was given back to Dothan City Schools, where it had been until 2019.